Claire just got out of the shower, and when she gets in there, she puts on music pretty loud. And it could be anything from Jefferson Airplane to Connie Francis to the soundtrack to Frozen. Could be anything.
I didn't play Connie Francis.
You could have.
I didn't.
Okay.
It was Frozen too.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Hey, who are you? Hey, Booktube. This is Kim from Middle of the Bookmarch. Oh, that's embarrassing. And this is my bookish week for Sunday, January 12th? 12th. Okay, what was my bookish week like last week? It was okay. It was all right. I had 3 books going on, and I finished one of them. I still am reading 2, so let me talk to you about the book I finished and the 2 books I have currently going, and I've got some upcoming books to show you. So I finished Invisible Man by Ralph Ellison, and this was a buddy read with Gareth from Books, Songs, and Other Magic. Gareth is a great guy. He's a fantastic booktuber. I had a blast talking to him, and I think we both felt pretty much the same about this book. This was a reread for me, and I bumped it up from 4 stars to 5 because I started to do a little bit of background digging into Ralph Ellison's life, into his career in writing, the background on some of the content in Invisible Man. And if you're not aware, this is a book that was published in the 50s. The setting is Harlem in the 30s, and our unnamed narrator is a Southern black man who goes to college and is eventually sent to Harlem in New York City for work, supposedly. But he's got himself through life. He graduated. He went on to apply to college and got accepted. So he went to college close to home in the South, and it did not work out like he thought. It was not what he expected. There were circumstances surrounding his college career, people that he met that were not what he thought. And he ends up being given a referral to go to New York City for work from the dean of the college that he is enrolled at. He gets to New York, and life just flips for him. Now, the whole point, I'm going to back up. I can't say that. I can't say the whole point of this book is, because I did not write it, and I am not in Ellison's head, so I can't begin to say the whole point is. But some of the most important topics in this book are inherent racism, the experience of a black man in New York in the 50s, in the 30s, 40s, 50s, what Ralph Ellison's real life was like and what he injected into this story. Why is a black man invisible? Why did this character go unnamed through the entire novel? What did this character go through? Different events in the plot. What did he go through and why? And how does that speak to his invisibility? There's so much in here to talk about, to digest. I have admitted to this, is one of my true confessions, is I'm a dog ear reader, and these are all my dog ears and highlights. It's just chock full. There's so much here that is just conversation starter and big bug on my curtain. But there's so many beautifully written passages. That's another thing that is exceptional about this book. It's commentary, and it is a very deep, intense novel. His writing is very unique and symbolic, metaphorical, raw, honest, and he had so many different ways of writing and developing plot and developing characters. It's so different and strange. There are some very strange events in the book. It's hard to describe, and I don't want to say too much because I don't want to give away a lot of the plot events. Because if I start to talk about certain topics, aside from racism, it will get obvious, some of the things in the book will be too obvious further on in the story, so I don't want to spoil anything. Now, the other thing I need to say is there's a lot of misogyny in the book, and that's not a surprise. It's been discussed in the past. There's a lot of misogyny, so if there was, why would I give this book such a high rating? Because I took that in context, and when you read this character's thoughts, and when you read Ellison's words on the page, that leads into the attitudes of not only our main character, but the culture at large at the time. And there is a phrase called the woman question in the novel, and that applies to a group that our narrator is involved with, and that's all I can say about that. But there's the topic of the woman question, and it's basically discussing what involvement women have in current events, in politics, in business, in the culture in Harlem in the 30s, 40-ish. So we kind of explore that a little bit with the attitudes of this character, and in some places what I believe were the attitudes of Ellison himself. There are some disturbing passages about rape and the status of women and how to see women. There are passages that are discussing stereotypical racism of white women towards black men and how the treatment of white women from black men has been skewed and twisted and stereotyped. And it was very obvious what Ellison was doing here when he was discussing those topics and writing those passages. So the language can be very misogynistic, the situations, the way the narrator looks at women, the way women are portrayed. I took that all into context. And there are other books that have been far more heinous in their depictions of women than this one, and much less important of context and plot. So there's a lot to review here. There's a lot to discuss. The topics of racism and misogyny and poverty and class distinctions are all in this book. And it is a fantastic, intense, illuminating novel, classic Black American novel. So I do highly recommend this one. I was surprised to learn how often this is assigned in high schools. I never even heard of this book when I was in high school. But I'm surprised because unless these classes are kind of college level advanced English literature classes, this is going to be a book that you would discuss, in my opinion, for an entire year. And for young readers, this would be an interesting thing to watch as to how they're developing the topics and the plot and the characters in this book. So really interesting, a lot to digest, a lot to discuss, and a phenomenal piece of writing. So thank you, Gareth, for your involvement in our conversations and our buddy read. I really enjoyed talking with you about that book. So I still have 2 books on the go. These are books that I've already showed you several times. Fire in the City by Laurel Martins. This is a buddy read with Joe Smith. And this is a short biography on Savonarola, who was a friar in Renaissance Florence in the 1400s. And here we go again. See, there we are. There's all my little dog ears and my highlights. And don't hate me. Don't judge me. And no bad comments about my dog ears. And I actually don't dog ear every book. I dog ear the books that I'm highlighting and I'm maybe writing notes in. But these are books that I won't really ever get rid of off my shelves. So, yeah, we're reading this one. Because Savonarola plays a crucial part in George Eliot's Romola, which Joe and I are also going to reread this coming year, early. I don't even know, maybe February, March. I'm not sure. Joe and I will talk about it. Maybe March. And I still am reading Wicked by Gregory Maguire. I am about halfway through. I've been taking this slow. This is a reread. I read it many, many years ago. And it's just, I'm having so much fun with this book. It's fantastic. Much darker than the movie, the musical. I'm really having fun reading this. And I don't know, I think it's weird because after seeing the movie, I'm obviously seeing the characters very differently, but it's almost easier to follow the plot in the book after seeing the movie, even though they're so very different. So parents, don't let your kids read that book. It's much darker than the movie, which is actually a great family movie in my opinion. Okay, so now what's going on? I have books on the go and I have books coming up. These are the books that are coming up. I'm going to go the ones coming up the soonest to latest. And this one is Elena Knows by Claudia Pineiro, translated from Spanish by Frances Riddle. This is for the Pineiro Project. This is our next read. I am going to be starting it either today or tomorrow. And this is maybe her shortest novel. I think it's it's only like 143 pages, so this will be a quick one. It's a reread for me, and there are several members of our group who have not read it yet. So that's going to be super fun to hear everybody's thoughts of either those who have read it already or the newbies to Elena Knows. I am going to be starting a new buddy read with Britta and Doris. Britta from Britta Bowler, The Second Shelf, and Doris from All D Books. And we are reading The Night Ship by Jess Kidd. This is the only Jess Kidd novel I haven't read yet. And her most recent, this was published, let's see, in 2022, so a couple years ago. And Britt and I have a project where we're reading Irish women authors. And Jess Kidd is one of my favorites. So I can't wait to get to this one. And Doris and Britta and I are going to take that on in the next few days. We're going to read that for the last couple of weeks in January. And the bug is now on the ceiling. This is our book group pick, my in real life book group with the Critical Chicks. And we are going to be reading The Frozen River by Ariel Lawhan, or Lawhan. I'm not sure how you pronounce her last name. I'm going to go with Lawhan. So The Frozen River by Ariel Lawhan. And this has been, I've seen this all over Booktube and was really excited that my friend Lindy, who was her turn to bring our next picks, brought this one and we all picked it. So I'm really excited to read this. This is, I'll read a little bit of the jacket. Still a little froggy. Maine, 1789. When the Kennebec River freezes, entombing a man in the ice, Martha Ballard is summoned to examine the body and determine cause of death. As a midwife and healer, she is privy to much of what goes on behind closed doors in Hallowell. Her diary is a record of every birth and death, crime and debacle that unfolds in the close-knit community. Months earlier, Martha documented the details of an alleged rape committed by two of the town's most respected gentlemen, one of whom has now been found dead in the ice. But when a local physician undermines her conclusion, declaring the death to be an accident, Martha is forced to investigate the shocking murder on her own. Excuse me. Now, this book is inspired by a real-life character of Martha Ballard, who was a renowned 18th century midwife who defied the legal system and wrote herself into American history. So really looking forward to getting to this one. We are going to be meeting early February to discuss that. And for anybody who's been watching me for a little bit of time, you'll probably remember that with my real life book group, there is a splinter group of us who kind of break off to read classics on the side. So they're not part of our book group. We have a Voxer group for ourselves where we have picked really chunky classics. So the first one, the first one we read together was The Count of Monte Cristo. Huge success. Loved it. I think it was the second time I read it. It's one of my favorite books of all time. Then we read Middlemarch, which of course is my best book of all time. And it did not go over as well. I, of course, love Middlemarch, but my group did not love it as much as I do. So it was a meh. But this time we are going to be starting our next chunky classic in February and March. And we are reading Les Miserables by Victor Hugo. And this is one of two copies that I have. I also have the really pretty Penguin Deluxe Classics version. But if you have read that one, that book is super flippin' heavy, physically heavy. And I also have this one, which is one of the older Penguin classics with the yellow spine, the yellow frame. I love these. I absolutely love these old Penguin classics. And it's super lightweight. It's almost the size of a mass market paperback. The print is fine to read, and it's a much less physically heavy book. But the translations are different. This one is translated by Norman Denny, and this one was translation copyrighted in 1976. The other book, I don't remember the translator's name. It is a female translator. I will put her name on the screen, along with the picture of the Penguin Classics edition, deluxe edition. And I have a few other of my book group friends are going to be reading from that one. So I did compare. I have both copies. I'm going to give away the deluxe edition, but I briefly compared the text of both, and actually liked the way the language was flowing for me for this one. So I think this will be a great success for me. I have to kind of, I don't know, gauge myself because I'm so afraid I'm not going to like this. And I really want to love this book. I don't like to read a chunky classic and end up thinking it's just okay or that I don't like it. I have high hopes for this. I've heard glowing reviews. I've heard of the tangents that Hugo goes off on, and that's okay. But I really can't wait. I can't wait to start Les Mis. So I think that is it for me. Let me know in the comments below what you think of any of the books that I showed you. Let me know if you've read Les Mis and what you think about it. Give me your honest opinions. It's not going to sway me. I'm still going to read it, absolutely, for sure. So let me know in the comments below what you think, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye, everybody.